My beloved child, praise is like the afternoon sunlight, beautiful, warm, comforting, and it makes you feel seen. Yet that sunlight can fade as the day slips into night, leaving you in darkness with nothing to hold on to. You once believed that praise was a sign of my approval, that when people smiled and honored you, it was proof that you were on the right path. But my child, there are praises crafted to build a pedestal beneath your feet, only to push you from a height you were never prepared for. I do not place the worth of your soul in applause. I anchor it in the foundation of truth, even when that truth makes you feel alone. Fragile souls often crave external affirmation, like a thirsty man gazing upon the ocean, endless turquoise water stretching beyond sight, seeming to be the answer. Yet a single sip is enough to scorch the throat and make the body scream from within. I teach you this. Not every voice that brings you peace comes from me. Some are only the salt of the sea, glittering but never quenching thirst. You once asked me why some people approach with gentleness, touch your heart with care, speak words sweet as honey, yet leave your spirit empty like dust. Upon a window pane, I watched you soften before praises wrapped in goodwill, words of admiration that seemed to lift you up, yet drew you away from the simplicity of faith. Praise is like a damp cloth that wipes the face. It cools. It clears the dust from the skin. It makes you look into the mirror and think you have recovered, but it never reaches the depths of the spirit where I am healing you. There are praises that make you believe you are fine, that you are enough, without needing me. That is the subtlest trap of darkness. It does not seize you with judgment. It lures you with validation. When you live by the praise of people, you hand them the authority to decide whether you are worthy or not. I did not design you to be a soul lying beneath the spotlight of a crowd. I designed you to stand in the light that no one controls. There are souls who see you write, work, serve, and they say, "You are so talented, you deserve more, you are better than others." Those words sound like encouragement, but if you let them reach the root, you will begin building your life upon their expectations instead of upon my will. I have witnessed many who were praised by the world until the world changed its mind, and when cheers turned into silence, they felt as though their souls were being suffocated. Because, my child, praise has no legs. It runs after emotions, after trends, after the mood of the crowd. My truth does not change. When you place your hope in praise, you are building your house upon sand. One wave is enough to wash everything from your hands. But when you place your hope in truth, even if no one understands you, you will still stand firm, for I am the rock before whom every storm must bow. You look back and wonder why certain praises make you feel tired rather than joyful. You cannot understand why there are moments people applaud you, yet your heart becomes heavy. That is not because you are weak. It is because your soul has perceived what lies beneath. When praise comes from comparison, it does not lift you up. It drags you into the arena of envy. When praise comes from the desire to possess, it does not honor you, it seeks to control you. When praise comes from fear of being left behind, it does not love you, it merely tries to hold you so the other person will not have to face themselves. I want you to look deeply into the origin of the voice directed to you. Does it open your heart to love, or does it close it with suspicion? Does it lead you to prayer, or make you believe you can live without me? My truth never needs applause to be justified. It only needs a soul courageous enough to walk the path I have set. You are called to a life where praise is not the anchor. I do not call you to become a soul that chases human approval. I call you to become the echo of the truth I have sown within you. When you do what is right, there will be times you receive no praise at all. When you choose truth, there will be moments you stand alone among faces that once smiled at you. But that is not a sign you are wrong. It is a sign you have stepped out of the cage of waiting for others to understand you. Spiritual maturity does not come from pleasing people. It comes from choosing me, even when your heart trembles. Listen to me. You were not born to be applauded. You were born to be blessed. Applause comes from the mouths of people. Blessings come from me. Applause arrives and fades. Blessings carve your name into eternity. There are praises that are not meant to lift your soul, but to inflate a part of you so that you forget humility. They do not appear as thunder or criticism. They come as a warm breath across your ear, cleverly whispering that you are above others, that you do not need anyone but yourself, that you are strong enough to stand without me. These words are like honey coating a poisoned pill, sweet, easy to swallow, gently sliding down the throat. Yet once within, they begin dismantling every cell of peace, weakening faith, making you believe that the spiritual journey is a performance of talent instead of surrender. Some praises are built like staircases, only to lift you high enough and then remove the base beneath your feet, making the fall all the more painful because you thought you had already reached the summit. You once believed that praise was a form of love, but true love never needs to say, "You are better than them, you deserve more than they do. You were born to surpass others." Those words carry a subtle venom. They do not attack the truth, they simply blur it. When the ego begins to swell, you will see every sincere counsel as a threat. You will interpret every warning as envy. You will treat every correction as an attempt at control. Ego grows like a hot air balloon, graceful and light in the wind, but the higher it rises, the easier the tether snaps, and a single puncture is enough to bring it crashing down. I have seen many souls rise on the gusts of praise, yet because they were not anchored in me, they fell into the abyss with nothing to grasp. I did not create you to be a fragile balloon. I created you like a tree with strong roots, standing through storm, living through heat. There are praises that appear only when you do what others want. When you align with their desires, they celebrate you. When you uphold discernment, they grow silent. Such praise is not meant to honor you, but to train you into a version that is easily controlled. People will call your name when you walk according to their dreams, but they will turn away when you walk according to my will. That is the first test of those who belong to me. Will you walk according to the call within, or according to the cheers outside? I have seen you confused by praise like yeast in dough, making you believe that just a little more confidence would make you perfect. But that yeast does not make you whole. It only swells the parts of you that have not yet been refined. Expansion is not maturity. Dough rises in the oven not because it is strong, but because it is surrounded by heat, and when the door opens, it collapses, exposing the inside that was never cooked. There are souls who will offer you praise the way people offer bait to fish, not to nourish you, but to pull you away from the place of safety. They do not hate you. They simply cannot tolerate your stability in the truth. They will lift you up, not because you are worthy, but because when you stand higher, you are easier to wound. Attack does not always arrive in the form of criticism. Sometimes it arrives through praise that lacks purity of motive. A compliment can be an invitation to step beyond the boundaries of safety I have established. The world will say, "You are extraordinary. You no longer need to honor any limits. You are mature enough to choose your own path." But my child, limits are not chains. They are the fences I built to keep you safe from the wolves. Compliments that push you beyond those fences are compliments with an agenda. Wolves do not bite when you remain within the garden. They wait for you to step onto the road where no guidance walks beside you. You must learn to hear the silence that follows a compliment. When praise comes from me, it settles into the depths of your soul with peace. It does not inflate your ego. It stirs gratitude. It does not place you above others. It teaches you to kneel and serve. It does not convince you that you are invincible. It reminds you that you are strong because I dwell within you. But praise that does not come from me is different. It urges you to see yourself as the center, to treat others as mere scenery, and to turn me into a resource at your disposal. It does not call you to surrender. It calls you to conquer. It does not encourage growth. It encourages complacency. When you encounter a compliment that makes you want to outrun my light, stop, because speed is the sharpest blade forged by pride. There are praises that seem as gentle as a light breeze, yet they lay a mist over your soul, clouding your spiritual sight. These words arrive after the false encouragements you have heard before, but they differ in that they do not strike the ego hard. They dull your awareness. They make you believe that this journey requires only comfort, only maintaining your current rhythm, only doing enough to remain admired. When you become careless, such praise becomes a swinging hammock, soothing the soul into a half-dreaming state where you no longer perceive the urgency I placed in every step you take. But praise that comes from me is different. It does not lull you to sleep. It draws you deeper. It does not soothe you so that you stand still. It plants within you a quiet movement, like subterranean water rising beneath the earth. When I raise you with my words, you will feel peace but never stagnation. My peace does not render you immobile. It opens space within you so you may hear what new thing I am sowing. At times you may think that encouragement is permission to rest longer, but true encouragement is like sunlight piercing through the canopy. It does not put you to sleep. It causes you to open your eyes. It touches depths that flattery can never reach. It reminds you that you are loved, yet that love is not meant to keep you in your old form. It is meant to bring you into the image I have ordained. And when you understand this difference, you will know that praise breathed by me is always reviving, never numbing. If a compliment comes and makes you want to stop, want to curl yourself around small successes, want to cling to the comfort of the present moment, be cautious, for words from me are never aimed at indulgence, they are aimed at awakening. I never speak to lull you. I speak to ignite in you a silent, resilient flame. I do not use gentleness to make you proud of what you have done. I use it to make you see how much more I desire to accomplish within you. It is a guiding gentleness, tender yet sharp, soft yet clarifying what must come next. My praise is a seed, not a pillow. It is planted in the soil to sprout, not placed upon the bed so you may sleep in ease. And when my words touch your soul, you will feel this difference clearly. They do not inflate your emotions. They broaden your sight. They do not make you feel you have arrived. They illuminate the pudding, purpose ahead. They do not craft a sense of enough. They awaken in you the longing to resemble me in every small decision of life. You will recognize that my words always carry a distinct substance. Clarity that makes you want to advance. Gentleness that steadies your steps. Peace that makes you strong enough to no longer depend on the applause of the world. And in the moments when you believe you need praise to continue, I will show you that you do not have to lean on external voices, for you already carry within yourself the whisper of my calling each day. When you walk through seasons where no one praises you, do not think that you have been forgotten. There are seasons where I deliberately remove every sound of applause so that your soul learns to perceive what I am quietly constructing in the foundation. In those seasons, my encouragement does not arrive through words, but through inner movement, a new perspective opening, a fear being released, a decision becoming clear. That too is my praise, praise that transforms. It says that you are maturing, not because others see it, but because I see it. And when you stand firm in seasons where no one affirms you, it is then that you are living within my true praise, praise that does not lull you, but makes you steadfast. There are compliments that brush against your mind like a cool breeze on your forehead after a long day, making you feel relieved and convincing you that you are on the right path only because of that sensation. But you cannot discern by the warmth of a moment, for feelings can be manipulated by habit, memory, and unspoken expectation. A gentle word can lead you into a soft meadow with no exit, and you will call it peace simply because there is no noise or opposition. Comfort is not always a sign of light. Sometimes it is the velvet cloak darkness wraps around weary souls to make them stop moving. The truth I place in you does not war against emotion, but it surpasses emotion. It is like an underground spring, untouched by whether the surface of the lake is calm or turbulent. If a compliment draws you back to the inner root, where you know my presence, that praise carries my breath. But if it only leads you to rest in a sensation, like a drowsy sleeper clutching a soft pillow and forgetting that the sun has already risen, you will drift away from the rhythm I have ordained. A mature soul does not evaluate praise by the sweetness of its words, but by the path it opens once the voice fades. Praise that comes from me never ends at you. It opens a way toward life, like the moonlight that cannot warm the skin, yet still guides footsteps home through the long night. In contrast, the praise of darkness moves on a different orbit. It makes you revolve around yourself, like a shimmering sphere spinning in space, dazzling but weightless, no longer knowing where direction lies. When you begin seeking affirmation before seeking me, when you attune yourself to the applause of others and forget the stillness I use to lay foundations, that is when praise has changed course. I do not teach you discernment by dissecting every sentence. I teach you to see where your soul desires to walk afterward. If it longs to return to peace, humility, and the hunger to grow, more like me, you have heard my voice. But if it locks you in complacency, or drives you to rush after opportunities tied to the ego, then you have heard another tone, even if that tone speaks softly. There are words of praise that do not carry the appearance of flattery, yet they are as subtle as smoke in a dark room. They do not sting the eyes, but they blur every edge. They do not oppose you. They agree with you so perfectly that you lose every impulse to seek me. They tell you, you are enough, but not in the spirit of gratitude, rather in the spirit of surrender. I never call you with words that close the door on your growth. I do not urge you to chase noisy glory, but I will not lull you into the swamp of complacency either. My encouragement is like the morning light. It does not scorch, but it insists that the buds unfold, while the praise engineered to deceive is like neon lights in the night, pleasing to look at, yet lacking any source of life. When you learn to look at direction instead of sensation, you will no longer fear being fooled by voices that know how to caress, for you will realize one truth. Genuine words always leave behind a pathway, while false words only leave behind an emptiness. If you want to know where a praise comes from, observe what happens when the initial emotion fades. A false praise will drop you into confusion, like a bridge that teases you the moment you step to the other side. But my praise leaves you standing in silence, without fear, like a person beside a stream, hearing the water flow without needing to see its source. It makes you want to live more precisely, not because of pressure, but because a spark of light you never knew begins to ignite within. True praise does not push you to prove anything to anyone. It makes you long to take one more step with me, even if no one else sees it. If a praise causes you to fear failure, to fear losing your status, to fear forfeiting the esteem of others, you do not need to ask further. Fear is not one of my instruments. I have never needed to make you tremble so you would walk in the right direction. I only need you to look toward the place where I have set your calling, and every word that builds will align itself toward that place. You do not need to resist every praise. You only need to learn to place them before me. Discernment is not denial, it is arranging every voice under my light to see which ones can still stand. If a praise loses its weight when set beside truth, it was never spiritual in value. But if it becomes clearer, deeper, steadier in my presence, then it is part of the journey I have given you. Do not hastily discard words full of love simply because they make you look inward. Sometimes that act of looking inward is the very door I open for you to step into a new season. And do not rush to cling to words that flatter your pride. They may be the rope that binds your wings, so you never take flight with what I have given. When you discern by direction, you will know which are my words that help you live, and which are the others that want you to sleep. Praise that comes from me always carries the fragrance of peace, like when you step into a familiar room without needing a guide, and your soul immediately knows you are in the right place. It does not rush you into proving anything. It does not push you into an invisible race with those around you, and it does not compel you to become better so you can retain admiring eyes. That praise allows you to breathe, allows you to release, and reminds you that your worth does not lie in human hands. It is like a small stream deep in the forest, never boastful, never competing, yet persisting with a quiet strength that the world around must depend on. When my words arrive, they do not make you compare. They do not send you searching for further validation from others. They draw you closer to the source of peace that has existed since I placed your soul into this world. That peace is not loud, not dazzling, but it carries an inner weight, the weight of solidity, of a foundation the winds cannot sweep away. And you will recognize, true praise always leaves behind a quiet space, a space wide enough for you to continue walking without losing yourself. In contrast, false praise wears two seemingly opposite masks. It either makes you doubt yourself, or it drives you into arrogance. When it plants doubt, it tells you that you must try harder, that what you have done is not enough, that there is an invisible standard waiting for you to chase. That praise is like salt water. You drink it thinking it quenches thirst. Yet the more you drink, the thirstier you become, and the more you fear being left behind. It confuses your soul. Am I truly loved, or am I simply pleasing them? It traps you in the hunger to prove yourself, pushes you to chase every glance, every comment, every nod of approval. It is no longer walking with me. It turns you into a hunter of validation, a person who observes yourself from the outside, evaluating every action according to the frame others impose. And when you are in that state, you no longer hear my voice. You only hear the heartbeat warped by the pressure to become something that is not you. And when false praise breeds arrogance, it does not tell you that you are lacking it. It tells you that you are superior. It makes you believe that your achievements came from your own effort, that you do not need my guidance, that you deserve to move faster than others, that you have the right to stand on their shoulders. That praise is like a shadow without roots, stretching long, beneath the sun, but possessing no true shape. It inflates your status without nurturing your identity. It convinces you that excellence is proof of destiny, that every brilliant future lies within reach if you simply maintain your advantage. That moment is when you step out of the spiritual realm, because your soul no longer looks upward to receive, but downward to compare. Arrogance does not always arrive as a roar. Sometimes it is just a pleased smile in the mirror, a belief that I am good enough, not with gratitude, but in a disconnection from the source of life I placed within you. I do not use praise to build you a throne on earth. I use praise to build a valley of safety where your soul learns to rely on me in every season. When I encourage you, you will notice a movement in reverse. You do not reach outward to conquer. You descend inward to understand. My words lead you to the roots, not to the surface. They teach you to live humbly even in success and to stand firm even in failure. They remind you that maturity is not measured by how many stand with you beneath the lights, but by your ability to still bow your head while those lights shine. If any encouragement makes you feel the need to protect your status or fear losing your place, you must know it does not come from me. For everything I speak sows trust, trust that I still hold your hand even when you have nothing to boast about. You will recognize true praise by one simple sign. After hearing it, do not feel the need to become someone else. You only feel the desire to continue walking according to the rhythm I have planted in you from the beginning. It makes you feel lighter not because you escape responsibility, but because you no longer need to perform. It makes you feel seen not because people focus on your accomplishments, but because I am illuminating the part of your soul you thought no one noticed. A praise like that opens your heart instead of building fences. It guides you toward the light instead of imprisoning you in past victories. And when you stand before two voices, one urging you to run and one urging you to return, you will know which is mine. True praise always leads you home. You often think that to avoid the trap of false praise, you must understand the person speaking, measure their temperament, and analyze their motives. Yet discernment does not begin with reading the human heart. It begins with knowing me. You may analyze their eyes, their words, or the timing they choose to compliment you. But all such analysis is fragile, like dust resting on the surface of the water, shattered by a single gust of wind. The human heart is not fixed. It shifts like the ocean that changes direction in the storm, like the sky that alters its colors with the seasons. Even sincere people can unintentionally plant words that lead you off the path. But I do not change. I do not turn with circumstance, and I do not compromise with darkness. I formed you through knowing me, not through the guessing of mankind. When you anchor your discernment in me, you are building your house upon stone. But when you anchor it in people, you are pitching a tent upon sand. I spoke from the beginning. Man looks at the outward appearance, but I look at the heart. 1 Samuel 16-7. It is not merely a description, but a direction for how your soul is to exist among humankind. A soul that knows me will not be shaken by sweet praises, for it does not need human affirmation to confirm its worth. You do not need to understand every motive in another's mind, because motives shift with circumstances, with fear, with selfishness, with the hunger for attention. But I do not change according to such rhythms. When praise confuses you, you often ask yourself, are they trying to use me? Are they attempting to manipulate me? But I ask you only one question. Does that voice bring you back to me? True praise will stir you to pray, to be still, to look deeply at the light I placed in your soul. But false praise will turn your gaze to yourself, like someone staring into a mirror who cannot walk away for fear the reflection might vanish. You were not created to live in suspicion or in pride. You were created to live in the knowledge of me. That very knowledge is the compass, the breath, the light that keeps your steps from wandering. Understand this. Discernment is not the art of reading human faces. It is the sensitivity to recognize me in every voice. You do not need to become an expert in predicting the hearts of others. You need only be faithful to my voice. A soul that places the burden of discernment on human hearts will always be exhausted, always weary, from filtering every word as if measuring each drop of water through torn cloth. But the soul that places that burden on me will be free, for it does not need to know what others are thinking. It only needs to know what I am saying. When you stand between two praises, one satisfying emotion and one expanding vision, choose the one that expands vision. For I always lead you forward, never back into the whirlpool of ego. Knowing me is like the underground spring beneath dry land. Even when the surface is barren, even when hot winds pass over it, the spring still exists, still flows, still nourishes the roots that have sunk deep. You cannot know the human heart perfectly, for every heart contains doors that even their owners do not know they have locked. There are praises born from fear of being left behind, encouragements born from the need to prove themselves, compliments born from desires they never dared to confess. You cannot open every lock, nor see through every wall, but I can. You do not need to search for light in their eyes. You need only seek peace in me. When you seek me first, you will see which words open your soul, which make it shrink, which lead you forward, and which pull you back into the center of self. Discernment is not done by observation. Discernment is done by returning to where I named you, where your soul was formed, where you know my voice, even if it is just a faint breath in the night. When you know me, you will no longer need to understand everyone else. You will only need to see the direction their words push you. You will know what comes from the light not because it stirs emotion, but because it awakens a peace steady as the lake after a storm. You will know what comes from the darkness not because it shocks you, but because it pulls you away from the stillness I prepared for you. Remember, I did not call you to be one who guesses hearts. I called you to be one who knows me, and only those who know me can walk through true praise, false praise, and ambiguous praise without losing their soul. I do not require you to read the mind of the world. I require you to keep your heart turned toward me. There will be moments when you hear a compliment and your heart sighs in relief, as if someone has placed a cool cloth on your forehead after a long, weary day. It makes you feel less small, less ashamed, less doubtful. But my child, that comfort is not necessarily light. A gentle word may soothe the wound, but only truth can heal it. People may tell you, you are strong, simply because they want you to keep sacrificing yourself for them. They may tell you, you are wonderful, because they intend to bind your soul to purposes they will never confess. And in that moment, you will feel a thin layer of comfort like mist, but it carries no breath to help you stand. That is the difference between true praise and false praise. One leads you toward the light, the other keeps you in the dark, simply because the darkness is convenient for someone else. Praise that comes from me does not cover your wounds with soft cotton. It leads you to the clear well where you can wash them yourself. It does not tell you you're fine when something is cracking inside. It tells you this is where you need the light. There are times I praise you because you stood firm in trial, yet I also show you the places where you still tremble, so you may grow stronger. I do not paint over the corners of your soul untouched by the light, for holiness is not built with outer coating but with an inner foundation. Like the potter, I do not need to say, this vessel is perfect, when it has not yet been fully fired. I only need to say, it is all right, let me place you in the kiln, for after the fire comes the form that endures. If praise makes you feel that you no longer need to change, it does not come from me. I never lull you to sleep in the habits that weaken your soul. I do not send admiration to soothe your fears. I send it to push you out of the cloud of self-doubt and into truth. When I say you are strong, I do not speak for momentary encouragement. I speak because I have seen the seed of what you will become as you walk through the ground I have chosen. When I say you are chosen, I do not speak so you may become proud. I speak so you may know your worth, even when others deny it. My awakening is not weightless, like wind. It carries the gravity of a call that leads you from where you stand to where you belong. Some praises of the world are like a soft pillow slipped beneath your head so you may forget the pain, but they do not heal it. And some praises from me are like a bitter medicine not easy to swallow, yet they break the fever within the soul. This is not because I am harsh, but because I know your life was not built upon comfort. If I tell you that you are enough, it is because I see that the roots of faith have already taken hold within you. If I tell you that you must release a relationship, a habit, or an idea, it is because I know that very thing is quietly draining your peace. Remember, true praise does not merely soothe the heart, it transforms the soul. And my child, you do not need to fear the kind of praise that causes you to examine yourself. Light does not make you worse, it simply reveals the places that still need healing. When you hear a compliment that makes you want to grow, to live more rightly, to come back to me, embrace it as a sign. That is praise from the source of life. It is like the first sunlight touching the face of a cliff, exposing moss, yet also pointing the way to the spring. In contrast, false praise makes you keep staring at your reflection in a still pond, not to wash your face, but to become infatuated with the image. Its beauty is only surface deep, while the truth lies beneath the layers of sediment that have never been touched. There are many who read my word and feel comfort in their minds, yet never allow it to enter their lives. They cradle every sentence like gemstones on a shelf, beautiful, but never worn, never exposed to the dust of the road they walk. They think that understanding is enough, that remembering is enough, that a stirring emotion when hearing a sermon is proof of spirituality. But my child, truth is not created to sit in the mind. It is created to become the rhythm of life. A single line of my word is only a seed, and no seed will ever bloom if it is not placed into the soil, if it is not buried, if it does not endure the stillness of the night and the pressure of the earth above it. Only when truth is sown into action does its nature begin to sprout within the soul. My word is like a thin strand of thread lying on a table. It has no value when only observed. But when you allow each sentence to weave into every decision, every thought, every way you face your life, it becomes a fabric that stands against storm and wind. Sometimes it is a painful needle piercing through the old fabric of your habits, but only through that piercing can the fragments of your life be joined into the shape I have already designed. Every small deed, every silent choice, every time you choose kindness instead of retaliation, every time you place truth above emotion, all of these are a stitch in the cloth. You will not see change immediately, but gradually the fabric becomes whole. A life with shape, with purpose, and with peace. There are people who claim they love me, but they only love me when everything goes well. They read my word as a ritual, not as a calling. They love the warmth of truth in the cold of night, but they do not carry it when the sunlight of life shines upon their work, their relationships, their responsibilities. They think truth is only for the hours of prayer, but my truth is not a coal pit placed in the middle of a church. It is the flame you carry into the valley, into the marketplace, into places full of conflict. I did not create truth to remain in the places where your soul feels safe, but to walk with you into the places where your soul easily fractures. If you only keep my word in the spaces where you feel strong, then my word has never truly touched you. Do not fear when truth makes you uncomfortable. Fear when truth no longer troubles your heart. A life that drifts by in comfort is not a life refined. You must learn to let my word enter the rooms you do not want to open, not to expose you to the world, but so that I may see you in your wholeness. Where you are angry and want to strike back, try letting mercy lead. Where you want to release a bitter sentence, try keeping silence, and I will speak for you. Where you lose hope, try to take a small step in faith. My word does not grow in empty promises, it grows in perseverance. In the moments when you choose the harder path that the light has set before you. My child, my truth is not a theory to be debated. It is the heartbeat of eternity. When your mind understands but your hands refuse to act. When your mouth declares but your heart shuts itself. You are only holding a mirror in your pocket that you have never dared to look into. I do not want you to remember my word merely to repeat it. I want you to remember my word so it may become every deed, like a blacksmith who does not hear the sound of his hammer and walk away. He strikes once, and then again, until the metal yields. So it is with you. Every steady action, every small step of obedience, every time you refuse to chase after applause, and instead chase after truth. This is how my word becomes life within you. Holiness, my child, is not entering a glass tower where all the dirt of life is locked outside. It is not avoiding interaction, avoiding love, avoiding collision, and then believing that isolation is evidence of spirituality. Holiness is living among the marketplace and refusing to let its dust define you. Like the moon crossing the night sky, it does not need to avoid the dark clouds because it knows clouds only block sight. They cannot erase the existence of light. Some believe they must escape life to keep their souls unstained, but I did not place you in this world for you to run from it. I placed you in it so the light within you may break through the thickest darkness. Holiness is not the act of fleeing from people, from responsibility, from the complicated questions of life. I do not call you to stand on the shore watching the waves and claim, your clothing is clean. I call you to step into the water, to place your feet upon the wet sand, and to let the waves touch you, not to sweep you away, but to wash what you carried from the land. When you go to work, when you face pressure, when you speak with those who do not know me, these are not places where your soul is endangered. They are the places where your truth is proven. You cannot call yourself a child of light if that light only shines in places without darkness. There are those who think holiness means keeping their hands unstained. But I tell you, hands that love will always bear traces of earth. When you help a wounded soul rise, you will feel dust on your palms. When you embrace someone who is breaking, you will feel weight upon your chest. When you forgive someone who has hurt you, your heart will ache. But in those very actions, you step into the essence of holiness. Holiness is not a pristine feeling, but a steadfast choice. Choosing light when darkness is easier. Choosing truth when falsehood would give you a smoother road. Choosing love when judgment would make you feel more righteous. My child, holiness does not separate you from life. It teaches you to see life with new eyes. It helps you recognize that an ordinary conversation can become sacred ground, that a family meal can be the place where I dwell, that silence between two weary hearts can be the bridge I use to heal. When you sweep the floor, when you work, when you soothe your crying child, when you sit beside someone in their pain, all can become offerings if you place my presence within them. Holiness is not retreating into the mountains to search for peace. Holiness is bringing peace down to the noisy plains and letting it transform the very ground you stand on. And remember, my child, holiness does not command you to separate yourself from the world as a stranger. It tells you that you do not belong to the world even while you live within it. You do not need to shout to prove you are different. You only need to walk with peace and faithfulness. Darkness will recognize you, not because you condemn it, but because you refuse to surrender to it. Light is not noise. Light is presence. When you stand in the light, others can see the path before them, even if they do not yet know how to name it. This is holiness. To live as a reminder that true life still exists, not in what is detached from the ordinary, but in the very breath of the ordinary itself. I know there are days when your spirit is so weary that a single word of affirmation feels like salvation from the abyss, and it is exactly in that moment that the praises from human mouths sound like sweet water in the desert. Yet it is in that arid land where you struggle most to discern between the water that nourishes the soul and the water that merely satisfies you for a moment while making you forget the source. There are praises that swell your heart like a balloon full of air, beautiful for an instant but shattered by the smallest collision. There are praises that draw you back to your true essence, reminding you of the seed I planted in you since the beginning. Simple, steadfast, oriented toward truth. My praise does not make you feel superior. It makes you recognize that you belong to me. If you have ever paid attention, you will see I rarely use flamboyant words. I speak with precision, with guiding light, not with the drums that intoxicate you. For if a word can make you intoxicated with yourself, then another word can also destroy you. I do not build your soul upon the fluctuations of emotion, but upon the rock of truth. I taught you a lesson very early in human history about the way I praise. When mankind still wandered through deserts and kingdoms yet to be formed, I saw a young shepherd boy, small in the eyes of men, but I did not praise him for stature or voice. I spoke through the mouth of Samuel, saying, I do not look at what people look at. People look at the outward appearance, but I look at the heart. 1 Samuel 16-7. I did not tell David that he would shake the ages. I simply called his name among brothers who did not believe he was worthy. I chose him for a heart that knew how to listen to me, and that praise placed him in the right position, not the throne, but surrender. You see, my praise does not raise you high in the eyes of others. My praise returns you to the place where you must stand before me. When you understand this, you will no longer measure your worth by applause, because the deepest affirmation does not come from the crowd, but from me, the one who sees the hidden chambers of your soul. You have wondered why I do not constantly praise you the way people do. It is because I do not feed the soul with sugar, but with solid bread. Sugar excites you and leaves the body exhausted afterward. Bread sustains you for the long journey. The praise I give carries the flavor of preparation. It gives you strength to continue, not the intoxication to remain still. Sometimes I speak only one short phrase, I see you, and you do not understand why that matters more than 100 songs of admiration, but that very recognition changes the journey. You no longer need to prove yourself to anyone, because you know I have already seen you. My praise is like wind filling the sail, not so the sail may boast of its form, but so you may cross the sea. If you celebrate the wind, you will forget that the sea is still there, and you must navigate to avoid the reefs. My praise does not make you burst with brilliance in a moment. It makes you steady in the long distance. My child, you may think that praise from me must roar like thunder and bring you to your knees in overwhelming visions. But I choose another way. I let my praise seep into your soul like drops of water soaking dry soil. It makes no sound, spills with no noise, yet each drop penetrates deep to nourish the roots. There are seasons when I tell you one thing again and again, not to lull you to sleep, but to fortify the frame of faith. Sometimes I say, you are enough, not as the world understands, but as heaven affirms. You do not need to borrow another's light to have worth. You are enough because you belong to me. That praise is a lighthouse, not a firework. It does not blaze in a fleeting moment. It is light that guides through the long night. You often ask, then what should I do when I hear no praise from you? I want you to remember that silence is not absence. When I am silent, I am letting you test whether you live for me or for praise. I watch how you offer faithfulness in the days when no one applauds. I watch how you choose truth when no one sees. I watch how you keep walking when there is no voice encouraging you. That silence is not indifference. It is where I measure your foundation. I do not need to see you on the mountaintop to know you are strong. I only need to see you do not turn your back on me while you are in the valley. My praise will come, but not to change your nature. It will come when your nature is ready to carry glory without turning it into pride. I do not want you to become a spotlight shining upon yourself. I want you to become a street lamp guiding the wandering souls. Therefore, do not hastily expect me to praise you with promises of greatness. Do not seek me to place a crown upon your head just to prove to the world that you were chosen. I do not build destiny with glittering metals. I build it with the resilient strands of obedience. When I praise you, I do not inflate you like a balloon. I place your feet on solid ground. I pull your gaze away from hollow praises toward steadfast steps. My praise does not lift you so high that the winds of life need only a single gust to break you. I bring you back to the place where you can stand firm through every trial. When you understand this, you will no longer fear the absence of praise, because you know, my word is not a stimulant, my word is life. There are praises that come to you like fireworks in the sky, dazzling, overwhelming, resounding, yet vanishing within seconds, leaving a darkness deeper than before. Those words do not help you walk. They make you stop and admire yourself. They make you believe that the summit can be reached by the attention of others alone, without endurance, without refinement, without growth. But my word is different. It does not applaud illusions. It goes straight to the core of your soul. My word does not make you tremble from emotional surges. It draws your breath back into steady rhythm, like a lake settling after the wind. When I speak, it is not to push you recklessly forward in ecstasy, but to have you walk firmly, knowing I have gone before you. My peace is not like the world's peace, because it does not come from avoiding trials. It comes in the midst of trials, laying its hand on your shoulder and saying, "Keep walking, I am here." You once mistook excitement for a sign. The enemy knows your weakness well, so he makes you believe that whatever makes your heart race, your chest burn, and your ears ring with imagined applause must be the right thing. Yet excitement is a wind that can change direction at any moment, without reason and without warning. It lifts you high for a brief instant, only to hurl you down when the wind shifts. Peace is not like that. Peace is the underground stream no one sees, but it feeds the roots so they can cling deeply to the soil. It does not make you want to shout. It makes you want to listen. It does not make you sprint. It teaches you to stop at the right time. And in that stillness, you learn to discern who you should walk with, and who only came to exploit the zeal within you. I do not teach you to act from a rush of emotion. I teach you to act from the wholeness of your spirit, where you are not swept away by external noise, but led by the life I have placed inside you. Remember this: I do not give you my word to create a crashing wave of emotion and then abandon you in the trough that follows. I give you my word so that you may set out. I did not create you to become addicted to the feeling of being praised. I created you to become my instrument in this world. Excitement can make you dream big, but peace is what leads you into actions that align with your destiny. Just as the wind can flip the leaves scattered on the ground yet cannot shake the roots that have sunk deep, excitement can toss your thoughts into turmoil, but it cannot mature your soul. Peace, however, even when it feels as delicate as a passing breeze, steadily makes your inner being stronger over time. This is the state from which I want you to act, not because you feel radiant, but because you know you belong to me. When your actions flow from that sense of belonging, no false praise will be able to pull you off course. My child, there will be people who mistake peace for passivity. They will tell you that silence is cowardice, that moving slowly means missing opportunities, that careful consideration signals a lack of confidence. But such people only know how to measure life by speed, not by depth. I have never called you into the frantic race of this world. I have called you onto a path where every step you take carries spiritual resonance. When I place peace in your heart before a decision, it is not to help you escape, but to help you see the road clearly, even while everything around you still looks foggy. Peace does not make you passive, it makes you intentional. It allows you to see things as they really are, not as fear or excitement. Distort them. When you walk in the peace I give, you no longer chase the fleeting flames that flash in others. Instead, you carry a steady fire within yourself, a fire meant to warm the lost, not to show off. And stay alert. There are compliments that arrive like thunder, startling you into thinking that the time to act has suddenly arrived. But my voice is like the wind passing through a field of ripe grain. It neither frightens you nor sweeps you into illusion, but lets you know that the season has truly come. I do not stir you up so you will take reckless steps. I place weight within you so you can walk with purpose. I do not want you to confuse temporary excitement with eternal affirmation. Excitement can light up a moment, but peace lights up the entire path. Test every praise by asking, does this make me lose my breath in overwhelm, or does it make me breathe deeply in peace? If a compliment makes you rush forward without stopping to listen, it is not from me. But if it makes you want to kneel, to let your soul sink into my presence, then it carries the mark of what is true. I do not make you louder, I make you steadier. There are spotlights that exist only to make you forget the shadow of your own feet on the ground. They are bright, dazzling, and they make you think that being seen by many must mean you are walking in purpose. Yet those lights shine only on the surface and never reach the places where your roots are thirsting for water. They inflate your ego for a moment, then abandon your soul in the desert once the applause fades. My word never draws you in that direction. When I speak, I do not pull you toward the place where people see you, but toward the place where I see you, into the deep places where your soul can breathe. Spotlights speak only of the present moment, but I speak to you about eternity. Spotlights push you to prove yourself, but I teach you to receive calmly. When you hear my voice, it is not your heart that catches fire because it craves attention. It is your spirit that softens because it knows it is loved. It is not display that touches my heart, but stillness that knows it belongs. You once believed that being seen by others was always good, but you did not realize that they only see the version of you that appears on the surface. I, on the other hand, see your source, the wounds that have not yet healed, the paths you avoid out of fear, the prayers you do not dare to voice aloud. The spotlight merely turns you into an image to be looked at. My word turns you into a soul that is truly known. There are compliments that invite you onto the stage, but their purpose is not to glorify me. They want you to step away from me and place yourself under the measuring gaze of people. My word always leads you back to where I am, waiting a place unseen by others, where no one judges and no one assigns you worth. There, you do not need to fight for recognition. You simply need to breathe in my presence. That is where your true beginning lies, not in the place where lights shine, but in the place where I lay my hand on your shoulder and call you by name. My beloved child, be careful with borrowed lights that others shine on you. Sometimes they do not illuminate the road. They illuminate your face so that you begin to see yourself only through their eyes. Those lights make you believe you are valuable only when you are visible. They make you forget that people can applaud you today and turn away from you tomorrow. I have not called you into that spiral. I have called you into a place where the light does not flicker according to the moods of the world, where the light comes from me alone, a light that does not blind you, does not force you to chase it, but wraps around you like a gentle shelter. When I draw you toward myself, it is not to hide you from the world, but so that you know your mission does not begin with applause, it begins with my presence. Remember, the spotlights make you think of an audience, but my word makes you remember the covenant. There will be times when you hear a compliment and feel as though the sky has opened. You think it is confirmation. You assume it is a door, but not every door leads to me. Some lead to traps. There are praises that want to push you upward, only to leave you alone when you no longer make others feel uplifted. Such compliments do not love you. They love the satisfaction of seeing you confident. When you depend on them to lift you, they feel powerful. When you stand firm without needing them, they feel threatened. I will never lure you that way. When I praise you, I do not clear my throat before a crowd. I whisper in the secret place. I do not leave you standing alone on a wide stage. I bring you to the table where only you and I meet. For the goal of my word is not ambition, it is connection. I affirm you so you know I am there, not so you will believe that people will always be there. When you listen to me, you will sense the difference. My word does not make you tense as you strive to maintain an image. It makes you want to send your roots deeper, to live honestly, to keep your heart tender before me. I do not give you light so you can become an actor in someone else's story. I give you light so you can become a witness in mine. And when you stand in the light I provide, you do not need the spotlights to confirm that you are on the right path. You can feel the steady rhythm of peace under your feet. People will no longer be able to measure you by their applause or their silence. You will be measured by the love I have placed within you, by the choices you make when no one is watching, by the way you keep returning to me whether you are celebrated or forgotten. My word will always draw you back to that place where there is no audience, only you and me, and where your worth no longer comes from the light outside, but from the flame I have kindled in your heart. There are people who wait for a sign from heaven as if waiting for a roaring applause. They long for the sensation of glory. They want to see signs burst into flame. They want to know that their steps are being celebrated by invisible cheers. But heaven does not applaud the way the world does. I do not build affirmation through noisy sounds. I build it through the steady steps your soul walks in stillness. Heaven does not come to make you tremble with fleeting fire. Heaven comes to set within you a stable rhythm, the rhythm of one who continues walking when no one is watching, the rhythm of one who chooses truth when no one acknowledges it. My child, When I see you rise after a weary day just to whisper a weak prayer, I do not clap. I open the gates of heaven. When you walk past false praise without clinging to it as if it were a lifeline, I do not shout. I etch your name deeper into the path I have prepared for you. Heaven does not measure by brilliant moments, but by the dark places in which you still choose me. You think great meaning lies in splendid victories, but I see meaning in the times you choose silence instead of retaliation. In the hours you reject comforting praise to keep your peace, in the moments you refuse to step through an alluring door because you know it is not the path I ordained. You want affirmation to appear like lightning, but I place it like water seeping slowly into the earth, not loud, not calling attention, only quietly nourishing the roots. That is how heaven operates, not by brightness, but by depth. Spotlights urge you to move quickly to seize opportunity, but heaven urges you to walk steadily so you can retain what has been given. Lights want you to feel excitement. Heaven wants you to grow. You once asked, "How do I know what you do is real?" And my answer does not arrive like thunder. It comes in the fact that you still stand firm after a season without praise. It comes in the strange peace that settles in you when you refuse an opportunity everyone else calls gold. It comes when you do not collapse under silence, but choose to dig deeper into me. Heaven does not throw confetti when you overcome a trial. Heaven remains silent to see whether your foundation is truly anchored in me. What shakes the world I created is not the explosion of emotion, but the quiet perseverance of a soul that knows where it belongs. Heaven does not build its foundation with fireworks, but with stone, and those stones are laid one by one each time you choose me, each time you reject what is counterfeit, each time you return rather than trying to prove yourself. Do not mistake heaven's silence for a lack of care. I do not stand afar waiting for you to impress me. I stand inside every small decision you make. When you choose truth over pleasant praise, I pour strength. When you refuse the spotlight to guard your heart from pride, I erect an invisible marker within your soul. I do not build the soul with noise. I build it with layers of refinement. Like the night gathering dew to sustain the trees at dawn, I gather every quiet moment to teach you to discern which voice is mine and which is the world's. Heaven does not need an audience. Heaven needs those who know how to walk through the darkness without losing the light within. My beloved child, remember, I do not lead you down a road that makes people applaud. I lead you down the road that makes heaven bow its head and say, "This is a soul I can trust." Your perseverance is the language of faith. People may praise you for a great achievement, but I look at the hidden decisions known to no one but you and me. The world celebrates when you win, but I take note when you choose righteousness amid defeat. Perseverance has no need to be recognized. It speaks through the way you keep walking, keep praying, keep believing, keep returning, even when the lights have gone out. And when your soul becomes familiar with that rhythm, you will realize that I never asked you to impress me. I only asked you to walk with me, step by step, breath by breath, through every long night without a single applause. There are seasons when you think you are standing still in darkness, as though every door before you has closed, and every voice around you echoes only to remind you that you have been left behind. You watch others move quickly, succeed, receive praise, be given opportunities, while you sit like a boat resting at the pier, hearing nothing but the steady rhythm of waves brushing against your wooden hull. My child, that is not a season of decay. It is the season in which I place yeast into your life. Yeast does not bloom while it is still dry, nor does it reveal itself the moment it is sprinkled into the dough. It needs time to hide, time to permeate, space to rise in silence. Your waiting, like yeast, produces a transformation that makes no noise. You do not see growth with your eyes, but I see every fiber of your soul expanding, every layer of patience rising, every hollow within you being filled by a strength you do not yet know how to name. Waiting in me is not delay, it is process. You think you are being held back, but in truth I am protecting your roots from the storm. I do not place you in silence to punish you, but to train you. Just as the baker must cover the dough to protect the yeast from the wind, I cover your soul with my hand to shield you from hasty voices, hurried praises, flashing lights that promise glory yet carry division. Do not confuse the absence of movement on the surface with the absence of movement within. It is precisely when you feel useless that the deepest things are being established. It is in the moment you want to give up that I lay the foundations, so you may stand firm when the door finally opens. The world sees only the finished loaf, golden and fragrant on the table, but heaven sees the process, the slow rising, the endurance, the silence, the willingness. There are dreams you have asked me for that remain unanswered. There are prayers you have repeated until your voice feels dry, but I have not forgotten you, and my silence is not abandonment. My silence is the time given for the yeast to do its work. You want to see the result immediately, but I want to see you strong enough to bear it. If I place a blessing in your hand before your soul has matured, that blessing will break you. If I thrust you into a new space before steadfastness is formed, the lights will suffocate your breath. Waiting does not come to wear you down, it comes to make you grow. It is not a storm stretched out without meaning, but the soaked field that nourishes the roots. You do not see the roots grow, but the roots are where endurance is sown. My beloved child, do not fear slowness. Do not mistake stillness for failure. The impatient measure time as a ruler of worth, but I see time as the space in which you learn to trust. Like yeast must be mixed thoroughly into the dough for the whole to rise, I let waiting touch every corner of your life. I do not raise only one part of you, I transform all of you. There are regions of your soul sealed shut by wounds, memories you buried so you would not remember, beliefs you built from fear. Waiting enters those places to soften them, warm them, open them, and teach them to receive my light. Speed cannot do that. Praise cannot do that. Only the time I have appointed is sufficient to nourish you. You will see that when the season of waiting comes to an end, you will no longer be someone who walks because of the spotlight, but someone who walks because of certainty. You will no longer seek validation to know you have worth. You will know your worth because I was with you when no one else could see you. You will no longer rush to grab every opportunity out of fear of losing it. You will know that what I keep for you cannot be stolen, and what I open for you cannot be shut. Waiting changes your perspective, from someone chasing results to someone who trusts the process, from someone searching for praise to someone who seeks affirmation in peace, from someone who fears solitude to someone who understands that stillness is the place where I speak the deepest. And when the yeast has finished its work, the dough will rise without applause. It will be ready to be placed into the fire, not to be destroyed, but to be formed. In the same way, when your soul has been refined through waiting, you will enter challenges not to prove yourself, but to manifest what I have placed inside you. Heaven sees this, and no one can measure it with the naked eye. People will call it luck, but I call it a season fully ripened. People will say, "You've changed your life," but I say, "You are ready." And it is in that moment you will understand that every slowness, every silence, every delay carries a sacred purpose, not only because it makes you grow, but because it protects you from what you are not yet ready to bear. There are seasons when you think yourself inferior because you cannot move as quickly as others. You watch them run ahead, constantly achieving, constantly praised, constantly appearing beneath the spotlight. They change projects, environments, and goals like someone changing into a new set of clothes, and you stand alone, feeling as if the world is passing you by. My child, do not measure worth by speed. A spring field can sprout in weeks, but a tree must spend years growing downward before it stretches toward the sky. I did not plant you like decorative grass meant to be admired for a moment. I planted you like a tree that endures wind, rain, and drought, and still keeps its green when everything around it changes. Speed only reveals who rushed. Endurance reveals who has been trained by me. The rhythm I teach you is not the rhythm of a race, but the rhythm of a journey. People love speed because they fear missing opportunities. I teach you slowness because I do not create opportunities for you to compete over. I create purpose for you to fulfill. People see the path as a measurement of success, but I see the path as a tool to cultivate your heart. If your pace is too hurried, you will no longer hear my whisper within. If you walk in step with me, every breath, every thought, every small choice becomes the heartbeat of a maturing soul. I do not need you to run toward the future. I need you to be deep enough to carry it without breaking. You think moving slowly is a sign of weakness, but true strength never erupts in a single burst. It grows through repetition. Just as a person must increase weight gradually to train the body, no one can bear the weight of glory in a single day. Endurance is the language of heaven. When you still pray in nights without direction, when you still believe when no one is watching, when you still walk even though no promise has been given to you, that is when heaven stands. Not because of the achievements you produce, but because you walk like one who knows they belong to me. You do not need to display strength in words. Endurance speaks for itself. It speaks to the spiritual realm that this soul has learned to drink from the well I provided, not from the puddles of the world. When you compare yourself to others, your heart loses the weight of the journey. You fall into the trap of believing that speed equals worth, that the fast ones are the chosen ones, that those under the spotlight are the ones walking rightly. But the spotlight does not measure inner light. Some stars burn brilliantly for a moment and then disappear from the sky, while some heavenly bodies endure for thousands of years, quietly guiding lost travelers through the night. I did not call you to be fireworks. I called you to be the sunrise each morning. Even if no one praises you, no one records you, no one posts about you, the sun does not need to be congratulated. It only needs to appear on time and fulfill what I designed it to do. My child, be careful with praise that honors speed. It calls you to explode, but it never teaches you to endure. It promises glory, but it does not promise foundation. Your value is not found in quick accomplishments, but in who you become when the world no longer applauds. I want you to stand firm when the storm blows through, not only rise when the skies are clear. I want you to bear the weight of blessing, not only enjoy the ease of open doors. I want you to have roots, not only flowers, because when the roots are deep, you outlive the seasons. But when the bloom exists only because of the weather, it withers the moment the wind shifts. You will know you are maturing when you no longer ask, "When is it my turn?" but begin to ask, "Who am I becoming while I wait?" Then speed no longer matters. You will know that what I have prepared for you never arrives late. It arrives when your soul is strong enough to carry it. You will understand that people may outpace you on their path, but they cannot walk in your place on the road I have reserved for you alone. And as you continue walking, every small step, every intentional choice, every return after stumbling, every morning you rise despite exhaustion, you will see a truth. Real value does not lie in how fast you go, but in the fact that you never give up. There are praises you hear in life like a breeze, sweeping across a dry field, at first cool and pleasant, giving you the sense of affirmation. Yet, after a few turns of wind, it vanishes, leaving your heart more barren than before. People praise you when they see your light. They fall silent when that light obscures what they want to claim. People praise you when you benefit them. They turn away when you no longer fit the story they pursue. But my praise is not built on seasons, not dependent on benefit, not shortened by momentary emotion. My words stand like a stone pillar in the sea, neither shattered by waves nor swept away by storms. You may walk through dry seasons, dark seasons, or flourishing seasons, yet my praise holds the same weight as the moment I first placed it in your soul, not to excite you for a moment, but to remind you of your eternal identity. You once believed that the times you were exalted were proof that I was supporting you, but you were mistaken. I do not affirm you through the cheers around you, but through the endurance within you. When you receive praise in favorable seasons, you might assume it is a sign I am on the right path. But when the season changes, when you seem small and lost, when no hand rests on your shoulder, when no one calls your name before the crowd, you turn to me and ask, "Did I go wrong?" My child, it is precisely in those moments when you learn the deepest truth. My voice does not change with the rhythm of applause. The affirmation I give is not the sound of people, it is the quiet peace in the deepest place, even when everything outside is shaking. My praise is not like the praise of human beings, because I do not look at the moment you are in. I look at the entire timeline of your life. I do not pay attention to bursts of excitement. I watch endurance. When I praise you, I am not speaking of what you have become in this single day. I speak of what I see you will become when you walk the fullness of the journey I have prepared for you. I see you in the season when you stand strong, but I also see you in the season when you stumble, in the season of weakness, in the season when you weep in secret. And I praise the soul that knows how to return, that knows how to rise, that seeks me, even when silence seems to swallow everything. My praise does not sound like a miracle. It flows like a quiet stream watering the roots, nurturing life from within. When seasons change, you will witness false praise falling like golden leaves in the wind. You will see those who once lifted you up slowly grow silent, and you will ask yourself, does my worth disappear with them? But my child, worth does not lie in the listener, it lies in the one who speaks. I do not praise you to keep you near me. I praise you because you belong to me. I do not offer affirmation so you may merely feel calm. I offer affirmation so you may know you do not have to race against the fear of being forgotten. When you hear my praise, you do not chase after the spotlight to preserve your existence. You simply walk step by step in the light I have placed within you. When people turn their faces away, my words remain. When the lights go out, my words continue to illuminate you. When the storm rises, my words remain the anchor that keeps you from sinking. My beloved child, you must learn a lesson many souls never have the patience to reach. My words are not given to make you feel safe, but to make you strong. Human beings use praise to decorate, to excite, to win influence, but I use praise to establish identity. I do not say, you are wonderful, simply so that you may bloom gloriously for a season. I say, you are known by me, so you may stand firm through 10 seasons in which no one calls your name. I do not praise you so you may triumph in the unfortunate competitions of this world. I praise you so you may walk out your calling, and when you take hold of my word, you will find that changing seasons no longer threaten you because you know you are not held together by praise, but by truth. There are words of praise built like a house on wet sand, outwardly stable, dignified, spacious, yet a single weak wave is enough to wash away the foundation. People praise you when they see value in you, when you still align with their agenda, when your energy and passion can make them feel glorified by association. Such praise has an exterior beauty, layered with polished and silky language, and you may mistake it for companionship. But all it takes is a season of silence, a dry spell, or an unexpected trial, and those praises will fall away like a roof made of thread, leaving you standing in the wind, hands empty, wondering why you ever believed in them. My child, false praise is not created to lift you. It is only strong enough to inflate you, making it easy for you to be crushed when the storm arrives. When trials begin, those sweet artificial words grow heavy. They stop being arms of comfort and become chains. The one who once said, "You are so gifted, you are more special than all, you cannot fail," will fall silent. Sometimes that very person will be the first to ask, "Why are you so weak?" False praise loves the moment of success because it feeds on the heat of excitement. It builds houses out of emotion, walls out of shallow expectations, doors out of flattery, and it has no foundation. When you walk into the wilderness, false praise no longer shelters you or keeps you warm. It flies away like an untethered sail, leaving you in the middle of a silent ocean. You thought it was affection, but it was never for your soul. It was for the image of you reflected in someone else's eyes. False praise wears you down because it loves your strengths, not you. It befriends achievement, not the path. It tempts you to believe in breakthroughs, but never teaches you endurance. It applauds when you stand on the peak, but it avoids you when you step into the hidden place to learn your lessons, like a house built on sand. When the wind comes, it collapses, not because the wind was too strong, but because the foundation was never deep enough. You can spend 10 years living in the sound of false praise without realizing you have built your life on damp sand until the sun rises high, the ground dries, the base slips, and the whole structure falls in an afternoon that once felt peaceful. And you will understand. False praise does not destroy you with storms, it destroys you with ease before the storm. But true praise does not fear trials. It is a house built on rock, not ornate, not hurried, not overwhelming, but possessing intrinsic weight. My words do not say, "You will never face storms." I say, You will endure when storms come. My words do not promise. No one will oppose you. I promise. No power can shake the bricked foundation you build in me. My words do not coat your emotions with sweetness. I place a foundation in your soul, steady, silent, capable of bearing weight. When seasons shift, my words do not fade. When the sun scorches the land, I do not withdraw. When you face long nights full of indistinct voices, I do not remain silent in abandonment. I remain silent so that you may hear the perseverance I have sown in you. My word does not need stage lights to exist. It carries its own light. My beloved child, understand this. I do not give praise to make you temporarily satisfied in the warmth of an afternoon. I give praise so you may pass through the night of storms. I do not use praise to testify of your ego. I use praise to testify of your identity. False praise makes you shrink when seasons change. My praise makes you open your heart to continue walking forward. False praise makes you doubt yourself when trials arrive. My words cause you to slow down, breathe, and keep going. When the winds beat relentlessly, the one who lives on false praise clings to the cracked walls. But you, if you build on the rock, will walk through the rain and realize that it is not the applause of the world that keeps you, but the foundation I placed within the silence long before. There are nights when you sit alone at a small desk, warm light falling upon an open Bible, and the outside world feels so distant that it makes no sound. You no longer hear praise, invitations, or celebration. There remains only silence that makes you think you have been forgotten, but it is in those very nights that my words begin to become a foundation. When every voice withdraws, I stand among the empty spaces, and you understand that endurance does not come from applause, it comes from the soul's ability to withstand absence without losing direction. Silence is not your enemy. It is the chest in which I store strength for those who do not live by noise. The season of silence reveals the source of every praise. If it comes from me, it will stand like a pillar. If it comes from human beings, it will withdraw with the wind. Under that lamplight, you will see one thing. My word does not excite you, then abandon you when emotion cools down. My word seeps into the fibers of your heart, slowly, patiently, like night dew sinking into the soil. You once believed that strength was the roaring cry of encouragement, but when you sit before an open page, you see that true strength is like the breath I placed within you from the beginning. Quiet, enduring, needing no proof. My word does not ignite your soul in a single instant, but makes it burn steadily, holding enough warmth not to extinguish even when winter arrives. When silence stretches long, counterfeit praise becomes meaningless. But my word begins to shine, not dazzlingly, not overwhelmingly, just enough for you to know you have never walked alone. Endurance in me is not born in banquets or noisy welcomes. It is born in the days when you have only a few prayers and a single page of scripture as your companion. When you feel you have nothing left to prove, nothing left to offer, you begin to understand what my word is. It is not praise in the usual sense. It is the guarantee that what I have placed in you goes beyond the fluctuations of human moods. You once sought affirmation from the eyes of others, but in the season of silence, the only gaze that remained was mine, and you realized not everyone needs to understand you, only that I am leading you. When you no longer hear the voices of people, you finally begin to hear my voice. This is how I sow strength, not by making you feel great, but by letting you know you belong to me. There are seasons like a sky without clouds yet without sunlight, consistent, long, difficult to measure. You call it stagnation, but I call it the time of rooting. My word is like roots seeking water beneath the earth. The passerby does not see it, but it is nourishing all life above. When you cannot hear my voice in sudden signs, you will hear me through the strange endurance of your soul. You do not know why you are still standing, yet you stand. You do not know why you do not collapse, yet you continue walking. That is my word at work in you, not to create the sensation of victory, but to keep the soul from sinking. The season of silence does not measure strength by light, but by the ability to hold breath in the dark. And it is there that I forge you. You will remember the nights when you bowed your head, weary for lack of answers, and you thought my word had not come. But I had come not through storms, not through persuasion, but through a single piece that pierced your heart. I am here. That sentence did not push you, did not force you, did not inflate you. It simply stood there, enough for your soul to rise again. And from that moment, you walked one more day. My word does not need to thunder in order to take effect. It only needs to be true. Strength does not come from the world knowing that you are fighting. Strength comes from your faithfulness when the world believes you have gone quiet. When you mature, you will realize the silent season does not make you weak. It strips away what is not real, leaving only what cannot be taken. When you hear a word of praise, your mind often reacts faster than your soul. Like the ripples on a lake when a stone touches the surface, those words may be warm, enough to make your heart bloom like a flower meeting sunlight. But immediately afterward, you must look into a deeper layer, the silence within. There are no applause, no sighs, only the stillness I have, placed as the measure for every word you receive. If that praise pulls you away from that measure, if it makes you feel you must prove something instead of living true to what I have placed in you, you will feel a subtle hollowness, like a step landing on unsteady wood. People believe value lies in noise, but I make silence the laboratory where you test every tone. You must learn that praise is not weighed by the volume of external voices, but by the inner peace that does not move. There are words of praise that make you feel you must respond, must put on a new cloak, must continue performing, to match the expectations just placed upon you. Such praise sounds like encouragement, but its essence is an invisible rope binding you to prove you are worthy of it. You will recognize it by the way you feel exhausted as soon as those admiring eyes turn away. When praise comes from me, it does not demand you perform. It releases you from the pressure of maintaining an image. I did not create you as a mirror reflecting human desire. I created you as a vessel of truth. If you allow praise to pull you away from what I have sown, the silence in your soul will sting like a needle, not to punish, but to warn that you are drifting from the source. Not every praise is recognition. Sometimes it is a soft net waiting for the moment you lose focus to close around you. Those who know how to wield praise as a weapon rarely use direct commands. They do not tell you to change. They simply blow gently on the illusion that you are already good enough, special enough, elevated enough, that you need not look back to check the direction. They build within you a false sense of safety made from admiration, and then allow that very feeling to drag you into the abyss when you no longer have the strength to resist. But praise that comes from me never makes you forget your place between my hands. It reminds you of your origin, not your surface. It turns your gaze inward, not toward the stage. I do not speak to make you the center. I speak so you remember who the center truly is. Where you feel peace in the silence, that is my voice. Where you begin to fear losing your place if you stop maintaining an image, that is the voice of darkness. When you begin to listen to stillness, you will realize that the silence in your soul is not emptiness, but a compass. It cannot be bribed by subtle praise, nor intimidated by the silence of people. There are moments when the world exalts you, declaring you talented, exceptional, deserving, yet the stillness within remains unmoved. That is the sign you are standing in the right place. On another day, a single sincere remark from an ordinary person will make your soul flare like kindling, catching flame, not because they praised you, but because their words touched what I am building in you. That silence knows how to distinguish between a passing breeze and my breath. When you go deeper, you will no longer judge praise by intensity, but by direction. Does it lead you toward me or toward yourself? The silence in your soul is the mirror of the spirit. It does not reflect exaggerated images. It returns your true face in the light I have placed. If praise makes you forget you are but dust given breath, then that praise has turned you into stone. You will begin to fear fading, fear losing your place in the eyes of people, fear being replaced. But when my word touches you, even in a single sentence, you will no longer fear being forgotten, because you know I have never forgotten you. In the seasons when people stop speaking well of you, in the days when no one stands beside you, my silence will not drain you. It will make you stronger, like a tree deepening its roots in a season without rain. And that is the endurance I desire to teach you, to live not by waves crashing from the outside, but by the underground spring that never runs dry within. There are compliments that enter your life like the midday wind. They stir the dust, create a sense of movement, make everything within you feel more alive. Yet only a few hours later, the earth cracks dry again, and your heart becomes thirstier than before. False praise works like that. It produces rhythm, excitement, and the illusion of progress, but leaves behind no roots inside. You will recognize it by the way it demands a response. You must do more, prove more, try harder to keep the admiration as if it were the only breath keeping you upright. Such compliments are like waves crashing against rock. They may echo for a moment and make the surface shine, but they never build a foundation. They whirl you between expectation and fear, inflate the ego, and then crush it the moment the admirer falls silent. And within that vortex, you begin to lose discernment. You think you are being encouraged, when in truth you are being pulled away from the stillness I have placed in your soul. False praise does not always come from malicious people. Sometimes it comes from the sincere, yet they do not see you through. My light, they praise you according to what they need, not according to what I have called you to become. They exalt you when you benefit them, when you fulfill the role they expect, when you fit the image they crafted. That is not love, it is exchange. And it is precisely this exchange that causes your soul to slowly forget that I never designed you to become a mirror reflecting the expectations of others. Each time you cling to false praise, you begin to carry an invisible burden, the fear of losing favor, the fear of fading away, the fear of no longer being called by the titles you have grown used to hearing. Chaos does not arrive with a shout, it arrives with gentle words that carry no spirit. It does not pull your hair or twist your wrist, it only whispers just enough to make you gradually drift from the path I have laid before you. True praise, on the other hand, never lifts you to a high place, only to leave you struggling to keep your balance. It is like a light coat placed over your shoulders when the weather turns cool, not ostentatious, not attention-grabbing, but giving you a quiet sense of peace to keep walking. True praise does not awaken the ego, it awakens gratitude. When I praise you, I do not exaggerate, I simply affirm what I am doing within you, not to intoxicate you, but to steady you. My words will never lead you into blindness, but into light, not toward seeking recognition, but toward realizing that you have already been known, already been seen, already been loved. You will recognize true praise because it does not turn into pressure, it becomes rest. You do not need to perform more to deserve it, you only need to remain faithful in what I have entrusted to you. When you receive true praise, your heart does not flare up like fireworks at night, but settles like a lake at dawn. It does not demand applause, does not urge you to maintain a certain performance, does not push you to operate by the rhythm of others' expectations. Everything I speak to you has one purpose, to strengthen your roots, not to distract your direction. You will not feel the need to become more, higher, bigger, or more visible. You will simply know that you need to remain in me. That rest is not passivity, it is steadfastness, not standing still, but standing in the right place. That is why my words do not make you look up at the grandstand. They make you look down at the soil where I have planted you. People often think praise is a springboard to fly higher, but I give praise as a map to remind you how to return home. When you listen more deeply, you will see that the battle between false praise and true praise takes place in a quieter space than you imagine. It is not a loud confrontation between right and wrong, but a subtle oscillation between peace and unrest. False praise makes you think, calculate, adjust yourself in order to maintain the impression. True praise makes you exhale gently, as if a burden suddenly fell from your shoulders. One kind of praise forces you to remain alert, the other kind keeps you held by presence. One makes you see yourself as a product to be displayed. The other makes you look to me as the source that never runs dry. When you begin to sense this distinction, you will no longer be swept away by the surface of words. You will hear with the soul, not with the ears. Discernment never grows in the frantic pace of your running. It matures in the precious pause your soul often fears to face. When you walk down a long corridor of compliments, of hopeful glances, of shimmering expectations like warm yellow lamps in the night, you will not see clearly the ground beneath your feet. because everything around you demands that you keep moving forward. That is why I place in your life moments like invisible glass walls. You think you are continuing, yet your steps stop and your breath catches in your throat. That is not failure, it is an invitation. Like someone who stops mid-corridor to take a deep breath, you must learn to stand still in order to recognize which call is truly yours. In that stillness, you hear the beating of your own heart, the rhythm of your own footsteps, and you perceive the silent sound you once assumed was nothing. It is my whisper from the depths of your soul. Do not think that settling the heart is a delay, like a train halted between stations to punish you. That stillness is the road I create to pull you out of the whirlwind of praise, expectation, and inner agitation. When you are still chasing instant affirmation, you will not hear me, because false praise always knows how to speak precisely when you are most exhausted. They do not shout, they caress you like fingertips gliding across your shoulder, giving you the sensation of being understood, respected, seen. Yet when you truly stop, not for a moment, but with a genuine letting go, you will realize that most of those words simply mirror their desires, not my will. The one who runs cannot discern direction. Only the one who stops can see how far they have strayed from the original path. My stillness is not like the silence you force upon yourself. You can switch off your phone, block the noise, close the door, but those actions only mute the outer world. True discernment happens when you allow me to quiet the voices inside. It is not silence in the ears, it is silence in the heart. There I do not speak through thunder, nor through bright lights, nor through crowns of glory. I speak through clarity that needs no proof, through peace that needs no reason, through relief that asks nothing of you except to be yourself in me. When you allow yourself to stop, your breathing deepens, your heartbeat slows, and the soul remembers what it has always known. You were never meant to live protecting your image before others. You were meant to protect the truth I placed in you before me. There are people who never learn discernment because they fear silence, like a child afraid to look into the mirror at night. They cling to praise as if it were a cloak of safety, and avoid standing still because they fear discovering the emptiness where they believed there was light. But you were not created to live beneath that cloak. When you accept stillness, you will realize that true praise does not make you afraid of losing it. You are simply grateful because it reflects what I am doing in you. False praise, on the other hand, makes you fix your eyes on the reactions of others, makes you anxious when their gaze turns away, makes you adjust every step merely to keep their attention. But stillness reveals falsehood. Like a long corridor in which no footsteps remain, you finally hear the sound of your own breathing, and you see how insecurity no longer hides beneath applause. One day, you will remember the moments when you chose to pause, not because you were weak, but because you were strong enough to refuse being led by the noise outside. You will recognize that the seasons in which you spoke the least were the seasons in which you heard me the most, not because I only arrive when you are silent, but because you only know how to listen when you no longer compete to speak over my voice. People may ask why you have become quiet, why you respond less, why you no longer care to chase affirmation the way you once did. But the soul that has stepped into stillness will know the answer. You do not need praise to. Remember, you are loved. You only need my presence to know you are walking the right way. When discernment has taken shape in your soul, your first step will not be a hurried sprint, nor will it be a step backward to explain to the world why you chose this path. Discernment does not require justification. It proves itself through the fruit of peace. When you have seen through false praise and true praise, when you have recognized which voices seduce you to sleep and which voice calls you, your actions no longer revolve around the habit of being admired. You will walk like someone, carrying a small lamp in the night, not dazzling, but enough to see the way. And it is this peace that makes external things no longer as compelling as they once were. You will no longer need to say, "Look, I am right," because your soul knows it was never called to stand on a stage, but to walk the road I have opened. Like a traveler leaving a crowded square full of music to enter a narrow street with only one path, you will not feel the loss of excitement. You will feel yourself returning to your origin point. There will be people who do not understand you. They will look at that calm stride and think you are growing weaker, losing motivation, lacking ambition. They will ask why you do not take advantage of the opportunities around you, why you do not grasp the sweet promises the world places before you. But you have learned to listen to the silence within, and it is that silence that has freed you from the pressure to chase the spotlight. You will recognize that sometimes what gleams brightly is not what is worth pursuing. It is simply a veil covering an inner emptiness. When you walk in peace, you are like a great tree that does not need to sway wildly in the wind to prove it is alive. Its life is proven by the sap flowing within. I do not call you to chase affirmation. I call you to live as someone who has already been affirmed by me. There will come seasons when the applause stops, not because you have failed, but because I want you to learn to look at me without the lens of other people. Those seasons are not a sentence. They are the bridge between the child who seeks approval and the adult who knows how to live in rest. When you walk in peace, you walk as one who no longer competes for position, who is no longer bound by praise or silence from the crowd. Your heart understands that steadiness is not found in the number of people standing beside you, but in the one who has walked with you even before you knew how to call his name. And one day, you will look back and realize that those calm steps carried you farther than any burst of excitement ever did. You do not need to speak loudly to protect what I have planted in your heart. The seeds I sow do not require display under brilliant lights to prove they exist. They only require soil, water, and time, things the world rarely pays attention to. Mature discernment does not pull you toward noisy places. It directs your steps to a rhythm where you raise your head only to look at the sky and bow it again to continue planting. When you live in peace like this, praise and criticism alike lose their power to shake your direction. It is not because you have grown numb, but because you are anchored in what I have spoken. Spiritual maturity is not the ability to endure every praise, it is the ability to no longer need those praises to know where you are going. If you understand this, you will find yourself no longer walking with the fear of being left behind, no longer looking left or right to see who is passing you or who is watching you. You will walk as someone who knows that every true horizon does not open amid applause, but within quiet obedience. From that moment, true praise will no longer feel like a reward. It will simply be a gentle affirmation, like a breeze through the leaves. And false praise will grow weak, not because it becomes less sweet, but because your soul no longer thirsts for its sweetness. When you walk in peace, every temptation of excitement becomes dust. You do not walk fast or slow, you simply walk rightly, and that alone is enough for heaven to open the way. When you begin to live by discernment that has awakened, you will see that I do not urge you to run faster, to impress others. I simply invite you to walk according to the rhythm of a heart stilled in me. I do not pull you forward with urgency. I guide you with endurance. The lights of the world push you to leap in order to keep your place, but I place before you each step in its own time, so your soul will not be torn apart by ambition. I know the hollow places within you can be triggered by easy promises, so I will not let you run toward the spotlight even if it appears safe. I always choose the path where peace is placed in every breath. My child, when you slow down because you are afraid of being left behind, that is when I place my hand on your shoulder to remind you that the spiritual journey is not measured by speed, but by companionship. You have seen others run quickly, receive praise, seize opportunities, and you thought perhaps you were being left behind. But you did not know that many of those applauses are like distant thunder, loud, yet they do not bring rain. Outwardly they seem strong, yet inwardly they are hollow, because their souls are placed beneath the valuation of the world. When you choose peace, you are not moving slowly, you are simply no longer a captive of the spotlight. I do not wait at the end of the path to see whether you arrive on time. I walk beside you so that every step is nourished by presence. Maturity in me is not an ascent filled with strain, but the steady continuation without trembling. When you choose peace, you do not lose opportunity, you preserve your soul. The lights will call your name loudly, like an alluring invitation. Step onto the stage, prove yourself, seek recognition now. They do not care whether you are tired, whether you are ready, whether you have learned the necessary lessons. They only want you to become fuel for a crowd thirsty for symbols. But I do not call you like this. I call you like a small stream whispering through stone, saying, "Come, but do not leave your heart behind." When you walk after me, you will see you do not need to compete for a position, because your place is determined by my will. There are seasons I keep you on the margin, not because you are inferior, but because that quiet wind teaches your soul to listen instead of display. Spiritual resilience is not formed amid applause, but within those silent moments, unseen by the world. I step back when you run after the spotlight, not because I despise you, but because I know the spotlight will make you believe you can carry the light on to your own. I also never stand behind you to push you into a trial you are not yet prepared for. I walk in step with you, like a teacher walking behind a child learning to take their first steps, not forcing that child to run when their legs are not yet steady. Many times you blame yourself for not achieving what others have achieved, but I do not ask you, how fast have you gone? I only ask, can you hear me beside you? When you choose peace, I reset the direction before you. When you choose excitement, the spotlight will turn, and you will lose yourself. Not every door that opens is an invitation, and not every voice that declares, "This is your moment," comes from me. Sometimes I keep the door half closed because your soul is not yet strong enough to live with the glory that stands behind it. There are steps you take that seem meaningless. A rejection, a quiet evening, an opportunity that falls through. You think you have fallen behind, but in my eyes, you have just avoided a deep abyss. I walk in step with you, which means I do not force you to become the version that people want to see. I do not need you to be dazzling. I need you to be steadfast. When you choose peace instead of excitement, you are handing me the right to lead the way. And I will lead you, not as stage lights lead a performer, but as the dawn leads a traveler, little by little, gently, yet surely. If you want to know whether you are walking rightly, do not look at the lights on the stage, look at the rhythm of your heart when you stand still. If it no longer trembles with the fear of missing out, but simply holds a soft trust, that is when I am walking with you. When you enter the season where praise no longer makes you tremble, yet no longer makes you shrink back, that is not the moment you are strong enough to walk alone. It is the moment your soul has learned how to walk with me, without clutching at constant signs. You do not mature so that you can leave the fire that once warmed you. You mature so that you can carry that fire within your heart through stretches of silent sky. I do not teach you to be independent from me. I teach you to be independent from the illusions of the world. You think maturity is becoming so solid that you no longer need anyone to hold you. But I tell you that maturity is learning to return to me at every crossroads, not out of fear, but out of peace. The strong one is not the one who stands in the spotlight without trembling, but the one who stands in the darkness and still knows where to place their hand. My child, spiritual maturity is not about proving your capability. It is about choosing the right place to lean. In the early stages of the journey, you lean on me like a child on its mother's arm. Anything that shakes you sends you running to me. Later on, people will tell you that you must now stand on your own, but your soul will understand that standing firm does not mean standing alone. I never invite you to step out of my presence. I only teach you how to recognize me, even when I am silent. You no longer cry out to me with panicked screams, but with whispers full of trust. I know you are here. Maturity is not that you have more answers, but that you need fewer answers in order to believe that I have gone ahead of you. When you understand this, you will stop shouting, "Show me," and instead begin to say, "Lead me, step by step." I have seen many who think they are strong simply because they do not lean on anyone. Yet independence is not always freedom. Sometimes it is a hard shell of loneliness wrapped around a tired heart. I do not want you to become an unreachable fortress. I want you to become a house with a lamp always lit, where I can come and go and find rest. There are moments when I let you walk a few steps ahead, not because I have left you behind, but because I want you to learn to sense my presence, even in what feels like empty distance. I do not drag you up when you stumble, because I want you to learn to call my name before you hit the bottom. Maturity is not that you never fall, it is that you never again believe you must get up by yourself. You once asked me, "When will I be strong?" I answered you with long days without dazzling miracles, with nights where you had only vague prayers, with mornings when you had strength for just one small step. But my child, it is in those very days that I am teaching you what the spotlight can never teach. You do not need to shine brightly for me to love you. The praises that come from people may lift you a little, but the words I whisper into your spirit will keep you standing when all those praises turn to dust. People will praise you when you fit their expectations and turn away when you no longer serve their dreams. But I will praise you when you return, even if you return with trembling legs. That kind of praise does not place you high above. It places you in the right place, close to me. You thought maturity meant I trusted you enough to let you swim alone, but maturity is that you trust me enough to let me lead you through the deep waters. You do not need to be the lamp. You only need to be the vessel that carries the light. I did not place you in this world so you could prove your own worth, but so that you could become living evidence that worth is given by me, not granted by the world. When you learn how to walk with me, you will no longer be anxious when no one applauds. You will rest because you know I am watching you, and you will not fear being misunderstood. You will know that I understood you before you had words to explain yourself. There comes a time when maturity keeps you from chasing after praise and also keeps you from shrinking under criticism. You no longer need to ask, "What do they think of me?" Instead, you ask, "Who do you want me to become?" The words around you may change with every season, but my word is carved deep into your very bones as an everlasting foundation. When you learn to walk with me, you will no longer live to please people. You will live to bring rest to my heart. And that will set you free from the fear of failure, from the obsession with recognition, and from dependence on the spotlight. You will be able to move through the crowd without being carried away by the noise, because your soul has found its refuge in the stillness I have placed within you. There is a point on the journey when you stop asking how loud people's voices are and begin to care instead about how deep the silence is within. That is the first sign of spiritual maturity, when you no longer seek praise to measure yourself, nor use criticism to define your worth. You see every response as a breeze passing over a field, brushing the surface but never touching the roots. You have walked through wavering seasons when every compliment lifted your soul like a kite and every criticism cut at the string. But then you realize this: if you belong to me, no voice on the surface can keep you standing. Only the truth I have planted within you can do that. Maturity is not that you stop being hurt. It is that you learn which wounds need to be brought into the light and which wounds must be laid down so they no longer bind your soul. Spiritual maturity always comes in silence, like a seed lying in the dark, moist earth. No one applauds it, no one watches it. On the first day the shell breaks open. There are no fireworks, no drums, only the patience of the soil cradling fragile life. So it is with you, my child. I have allowed you to lie in dark places that you thought were wasted spaces, where you received no applause and had no one left to impress. Those days were not punishment, they were gestation. I do not need you to prove you are strong for me to love you. I only need you to cling to me when you are weak. Maturity is not the product of moments of brilliance, but the result of long nights when you lay down and say, "I will still trust." It is the prayer without words, the breath taken between weary steps, the surrender with no audience. I do not write heaven's memories with stage lights. I write them with the tears you refuse to let anyone see. Spiritual maturity begins when you learn to separate yourself from applause and whistles. I do not want your soul to be trained according to the cycles of human emotions, rejoicing today, disappointed tomorrow. I want you to know that peace is not the reward of success. It is the fruit of nearness to me. The true praise I give does not make you arrogant. It places you back in the position where you belong. I do not praise you so that you will believe you are superior. I praise you so that you remember you belong to the light. Heaven has never celebrated you the way the world does. Heaven calls you by your true name because your name is a calling, not a legend. A mature soul does not receive praise as a piece of candy, but welcomes it as a gentle reminder. Stay connected to me. You do not need praise to know you are on the right path. You only need to sense that peace has not left your steps. There will be moments when I cause you to stand under the spotlight, not so that you may shine, but so that you may know you do not need the spotlight to continue. I will allow you to receive people's applause, not so that you will live for them, but so that you may learn how to step off the stage when I call. I will place you in the midst of admiration, not so that you may be intoxicated by it, but so that you may learn no outward light will ever be greater than the light I have placed inside your soul. You are truly maturing when you can stand in the center of recognition and still remain clear-headed enough to ask me, am I still walking right? The world celebrates self-confidence, but I invite dependence. The world praises victory, but I keep close those who have learned silence. Spiritual maturity is not walking away from life. It is walking through life without allowing life to define you. The day will come when you look back at the praises that once made you impulsive, the invitations that once pulled your heart away from my path, and you will see them as light as mist, not because you have become cold, but because you now know your true worth is not found in brief flashes of light. You will remember the conversations that once kept you up at night, the times you tried so hard to prove yourself just to be understood, and you will smile as you realize you have been set free from that need. I do not want you to become someone who convinces the whole world. I want you to become someone who walks in my peace. Every other voice is only an echo in the valley. My voice is the spring within your heart. Spiritual maturity reaches its crystallization when you begin to hear what the world cannot hear, the breathing of truth. You stand before praise, and you do not hurry to receive it. You stand before criticism, and you do not rush to retaliate. You do not leap when you are lifted up, nor collapse when you are brought low. You sit down and look at it with eyes that have been opened. This is an opportunity for me to teach you. Not an opportunity to prove who is right or wrong, but for you to examine yourself before me. That is when you begin to understand. False praise is not afraid of noise, it is afraid of stillness. True praise does not need to flare, it only needs a place to rest within the soul. My child, maturity is not a destination, but a position you learn to keep. I do not call you to become perfect, I call you to walk in the light, even if that light is only enough for one step at a time. A mature person does not see farther only with their eyes. They see deeper with their soul. You will still stumble, still grow tired, still at times lose rhythm, but you will no longer despair, because you know you can stand up. Without needing applause, you can keep walking without needing someone else's signpost. I become the compass, and the journey itself becomes worship. Then you will realize every word of praise that once lifted you up or led you astray is only background. What I do in your soul is the true center of the story. When maturity crystallizes, you no longer live to be seen, you live to become. You no longer wait for affirmation. You become the quiet evidence that truth is stronger than illusion. You do not need to stand on the summit to know you belong to the light. You only need to stand beside me. And in that standing, you will hear my voice whisper, not loud praise, but a soft affirmation like breath itself. You belong to me, and that is enough. Now pray like this. Lord, please teach me to listen to every word of praise with spiritual ears, so that I do not stop at the feeling of comfort and forget that there are gentle words spoken only to awaken dormant pride within me. Teach me to see beyond the softness on the surface and discern the direction that word is trying to pull my soul toward. If a compliment only makes me satisfied with myself, please stir my heart so that I return to the source of truth. But if a word of praise awakens in me a longing to live rightly in the light, then let me receive it as an invitation to walk closer to you. Lord, when I hear words so sweet that they make me forget the discipline of faith, please do not let my heart fall into the illusion of safety. I do not want to become a child who believes in lullabies that make me sleep on the road toward you. Help me be willing to let go of the words of praise that soften my soul in the wrong way, making it easy for me to release vigilance. Remind me that everything that comes from you leads back to life, and everything that comes from darkness seeks to pull me away from the source of truth. Lord, do not let me be enchanted by words that know how to touch my wounds, yet never heal them. There are praises like a gentle hand laid over a crack, only to cover it from the light it needs. Please give me enough humility to recognize that true healing does not come from being praised, but from allowing you to touch the places where I am still weak. If anyone exalts me with the hidden intention of imprisoning my soul in self-satisfaction, please awaken me, so I am not led away. from the path you have set. Lord, please show me how to recognize words of praise that carry peace instead of short-lived excitement. I do not want my soul to be pushed upward, only to fall even lower before it finds a place to rest. There are compliments that open my heart to pride without my noticing. Place your arm beneath my heart when I hear such words, so that I do not fall into a pit lined with soft cotton and false light. Keep me in your stillness, so that I do not lose myself in the gaze of people. Lord, when praise makes me compare myself to others, draw my steps back onto the path that belongs to you. I do not want to measure my worth by applause, but by faithfulness. I do not want to find my identity in praise, but in your presence. Help me remember that human acclaim is only a gentle wind coming and going, while your calling is the solid ground beneath my feet. No matter how tender a word of praise may seem, if it pushes me away from my purpose, give me the courage to lay it down. Lord, please teach me to discern the voices that come with hidden motives. There are those who do not harm me by attacking, but by caressing. They do not break my confidence with criticism, but with encouragement that leads me astray. If I stand before words that lift me up only to make me forget you, please pull me down from the pedestal I was never meant to stand on alone. I want to be lifted by your hand, not by those who seek to profit from my soul. Lord, please protect me from the praises that arrive when I am at my weakest. I know that when the heart is weary and the soul longs to be acknowledged, it is precisely then that the enemy comes with the sweetest promises. Shield me from giving my heart to voices that do not carry your breath. When I feel the need for encouragement, let me seek you before seeking anyone else, because only you know how to lift me without wearing down my soul. Lord, grant me the courage to walk in truth, even if it means I am not welcomed. There are praises that come because I satisfy others, but not you. Do not let me choose the easy path simply because it is met with applause. I want to walk the only road that leads me to life, even if it is silent and without admiration. Place within me a love for truth greater than the desire to be liked. Lord, when my heart wants to respond to praise by trying to live up to it, remind me that my worth does not lie in displaying ability, but in surrendering to you. I do not need to prove my value to anyone. I only need to remain faithful and walk in the light. If people praise me for things that do not belong to you, help me refuse them so that I will not trade peace for approval. Lord, bring me back to the place where you alone are the standard. When I lose myself in the delight that praise brings, let me hear your call, a voice not loud, yet strong enough to lift my soul to its feet. I do not want to walk according to emotion. I want to walk according to the direction you have ordained. Grant me clarity to see that praise can be a bridge leading me toward the light, but it can also be a trap buried beneath a smile. Lord, help me understand that discernment does not begin with reading the hearts of others, but with knowing you more deeply each day. People may praise me because they need something from me, but you praise to awaken what you have planted. If I do not see you clearly, lead me back to the secret place where every noise fades and my soul hears only your guidance. Among all voices that come to me, teach me to choose the one that leads to life, your voice. I offer this prayer in the holy name of Jesus Christ. Amen. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications, so together we can build a strong community of faith.